My name's Mike, and I've been hitched to Sarah for more than 35 years. We've been through a lot together, some ups, some downs, but I always figured our connection was rock solid. Our life was built on routine, just steady and calm. Our marriage wasn't full of big romance or crazy adventures, but it was cozy. Sarah's been my one and only, my best friend, my teammate. We didn't need much to be happy, just a simple house, a decent paycheck, and time hanging out together. We met when we were both in our early 20s. I was just kicking off my career as a bookkeeper, while Sarah was already settled in as a teacher at the local school. I was drawn to her right away. Sarah had this warm vibe, a kind of calm that made people feel relaxed. She had a knack with kids that I didn't totally get, but I admired it. She'd come home from work with stories about her students, the little wins in her classroom, and the headaches of dealing with tough kids. I'd listen, genuinely into it, even if her world was kind of foreign to me. We never had kids of our own. It wasn't something we set out to do or avoid. It just never felt necessary. I think Sarah got her fill of kids at school in a way. And me? I was honestly fine with the life we had. Our nights were spent watching TV, chatting about our day, or sometimes just chilling quietly. It was a calm life, predictable, and pretty darn comfortable. We had enough cash to get by without being flashy. We didn't travel much, choosing to save up for later instead. There were no big romantic gestures or fancy trips, but there was something nice about keeping things simple. When we hit our 50s, not much changed in our daily routine. Sarah kept teaching, totally dedicated to her job, or so I thought. I never doubted how much she cared about her students or the long hours she put in grading papers, planning lessons, or going to school events. I was cool with her late nights or weekends at school. It was just who she was, always trying to make a difference. As for me, I stuck with my accounting gig, a job I found steady and satisfying in its own way. I never wanted more than that, and as I got older, I was more and more okay with the life I built. It wasn't anything special, but it worked for us. I'd work for the week, and we'd spend weekends together. Nothing big, just chilling at home. We were big on socializing, but that was fine by us. A dinner with friends here and there, a quick chat with neighbors, but no big parties or fancy vacations. Our little house felt like our own world. But somewhere along the line, things started to shift. It was small at first, Sarah staying longer at school, coming home wiped out but not really saying why. I didn't think much of it at the start. She'd always been all in with her job. But as time went on, I started picking up on things that didn't feel right. Little stuff, like how she'd smile when talking about certain coworkers, her teacher buddies, or how she seemed a bit more distant when we hung out at night. I figured it was just us getting older. We were 60 now, after all. Things settle into a groove, don't they? But deep down, I sensed it, a slight change in the vibe between us. Something wasn't quite right. I didn't want to face it, but I think I was starting to feel the weight of time. Our relationship had settled into a comfy routine, but it was the kind where I felt a little disconnected. It wasn't a huge issue, not at first. But year after year, I felt less of her presence and more of her absence. I'd catch her staring out the window, lost in thought, like she was yearning for something else out there. Sarah always said how much she loved her students, how great it was to watch them learn and grow. I never questioned it, not until one night when things started to come apart. Around this time, in our quiet little suburb, I noticed a name coming up more than I liked, Mr. Johnson. At first, I didn't think twice about it. Teachers talk about their coworkers all the time, especially in tight-knit schools. But then it started feeling off. The way she mentioned him, so casual, but with a spark that caught me off guard. Mr. Johnson was a new teacher at her school, she said. He taught history, and they'd apparently hit it off. I wasn't sure what to think. Sarah's always been friendly, but this, it felt different. Her eyes would brighten when she talked about him, and she'd mention how they'd stay late after school, chatting about lesson plans, the future of teaching, and how tough it was to be educators in a world that didn't seem to care. Those conversations started happening more often. I told myself I was just being paranoid. It was just a coworker, right? But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. It didn't take long for Sarah's late nights at school to become a regular thing. She'd say she was swamped, staying late to get ready for tests or plan the next school event. But every time she got home, I noticed something, a shift in her mood, a new spark in her eyes. She wasn't down or worn out like before. Nah, she seemed pumped up. Then one night, it hit me. Sarah rolled in later than usual, her eyes shining, cheeks a little red. She said Mr. Johnson drove her home because it was too late, and she didn't want to drive in the dark. I wasn't mad, not right away. But the more I thought about it, the more it bugged me. She'd never needed a ride from anyone before. This was new, and I couldn't just brush it off. The changes were small at first, so small I almost missed them, maybe because I didn't want to see them. But they were there, eating at me. At first, it was just her being tired. She'd come home late from school more often, looking worn out, but not like she used to. It was like she was drained from something else, something I wasn't in on. Those long sighs as she dropped her bag by the door, the way her eyes would wander when I asked about her day. No more long stories about her classes, no excited recaps of what happened at school. She was distant, her mind somewhere else. And me? I was quietly frustrated, wondering where that somewhere else was. I tried to stay cool. We were both getting older, and teaching was never a walk in the park. But there was something more, something deeper I couldn't ignore, no matter how hard I tried. Then there was how she talked about Mr. Johnson, the new teacher at her school. I didn't even know why I noticed at first, it was just a name. But she brought him up a lot, with a tone I hadn't heard before, one that wasn't just friendly or casual. It wasn't the usual way you talk about a coworker. No, this was different. She talked about him with this odd kind of respect, almost like she was in awe. He's really into history, Mike. You should hear him talk about it. Guy's got a real passion, she said one night over dinner. I tried to smile and nod, but something twisted inside me. Why was she telling me this? What did it matter? Then she went on about how she and Mr. Johnson would stay late after school, going over lesson plans, tossing around ideas. At first, I thought it was just work stuff, but as time passed, I saw how her eyes lit up when she mentioned him. There was a spark in her voice I hadn't heard in years. This wasn't just some coworker. And then there were the little things, small moments that seemed minor at first, but started feeling like cracks in our marriage. When she got home after long hours at school, she didn't come to me like she used to. No hugs, no quick kiss on the cheek. Instead, she breezed past me, moving fast, almost like she didn't see me. When I tried to talk to her, to pull her into a conversation, she'd give short answers and turn to her phone or the TV. It was like she was distracted by something or someone I couldn't see. It was a Tuesday night when she came home late again. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes brighter than I'd seen in a while. She brought up Mr. Johnson again. Said he gave her a ride home because their lesson planning ran late, and she didn't feel safe driving alone. Her words just hummed there, heavy. I wanted to ask why, to push her on it, but I didn't. I couldn't. I just nodded, but I couldn't shake the thought. Why was this the first time she ever needed a ride? I watched her go through her evening routine, trying to ignore the pit in my stomach. I heard the soft clink of her earrings as she took them off, the rustle of her clothes as she changed. But everything felt off. She wasn't the same woman who used to pull me close after a long day. There was a coldness now, a distance in how she moved, how she talked. She was slipping away, and I didn't know if I could stop it. Then she looked at me, her eyes meeting mine for the first time that night. There was something raw in them, something unsure. She looked like she was searching for something, something I knew, deep down, I couldn't give her anymore. She started to say something but stopped. Instead, she just looked away, like she was embarrassed. That was it, my sake. The moment it hit me, the thing I'd been ignoring for too long. There was someone else. She wasn't just staying late at school or chatting about a coworker. No, there was something deeper, something closer, something I was a part of. And that realization slammed into me like a punch to the gut. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. What was I supposed to say? How do you call out something when you're not even sure what you're seeing? So, I just watched Sarah pull away, slipping into a place where I didn't fit anymore. That night, she hit the sack early, curling up under the blankets, leaving me alone with my heavy thoughts. I stayed up for hours, hearing her soft breathing next to me, wondering how long had this been going on? How had I missed the gap growing between us, the distance in our marriage? I wasn't mad, not yet. Just this empty ache, this gut punch feeling that the woman I'd known forever was drifting away, and I was powerless to stop it. The days after that uneasy feeling that something was off between me and Sarah dragged on like years. Our life, once solid as a rock with all our shared memories, now felt like it could crumble any second. I could sense it in how she looked at me, or really, how she didn't. Her eyes were distant, like she was seeing someone or something else. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just a phase, that we were getting older, that our paths were naturally splitting. But deep down, I knew. There was something she wasn't telling me, something that had snuck into our lives like a shadow, unnoticed until it was too late to stop. One night, I was alone in the living room, sitting in the old armchair that used to feel like ours but now seemed like a leftover from a different life. I stared out the window, my head spinning, my thoughts a mess of doubt and suspicion. Then I saw it, her phone. Sarah was always private about her phone. It never bugged me before, how she kept it close or flipped the screen down on the table. But tonight, it felt different. The phone was on the counter, her purse next to it, left behind like she'd rushed out. I don't know why, but I felt this sudden urge I couldn't shake. My hand moved on its own, like it knew what I needed before I did. I grabbed the phone, my heart pounding, and unlocked it. There it was, in her recent texts, a name I knew but didn't. Johnson. I'd heard it years ago, some coworker of Sarah's I met at a school thing way back. He'd always been polite, kept his distance, never set off any alarms. But now, the text between them told a different story. The words on the screen were sharp, personal, full of something heavy. There were pictures, pics of them together in places I'd never seen. Smiles, little touches, quiet moments. My stomach churned as I scrolled through, each message worse than the last. Late night chats, plans to meet up when I wasn't around. The vibe was clear. This wasn't just buddies. It was something deeper, something hidden. My pulse raced, my hands shaking as I read, each word like a knife. The betrayal was right there, no denying it. It hit me like a truck, stealing my breath. All this time, Sarah had been hiding feelings for him, sneaking around, playing a game I didn't even know was on. And me? I'd been so blind, so trusting, such an idiot. I stood there, frozen, phone still in my hands, as the world spun around me. The house didn't feel like home anymore, like I didn't belong. The walls, once full of our laughter and memories, now felt cold and empty. Our whole life together, all those years side by side, suddenly seemed like a lie. The truth hit me hard, and something broke inside me. It wasn't just shock or disbelief, it was deeper. The woman I loved, the one I trusted with everything, had chosen someone else. She'd given him parts of herself I'd never understand, and I was left in the wreckage, a guy whose world flipped upside down in a second. I didn't know what to do next. My head was a storm of feelings, anger, pain, confusion, and something darker I couldn't name. I couldn't even face her, couldn't ask the questions tearing me up. How long had this been going on? Why'd she do it? Did I miss the signs? The questions kept coming, but they didn't matter. The betrayal was already done. The house was too quiet now. Sarah's footsteps, the little things she did around the place, all faded into the background, replaced by this new reality. The phone felt heavy, like it was burning my hands, but I couldn't put it down. I kept scrolling through the texts, through the proof of her cheating. It was like some twisted ritual, a punishment I was putting myself through, but I couldn't stop. I had to know everything, see it all, even as it broke me more. And then, sitting there, the cold truth hit me hard. I wasn't just Sarah's husband. I wasn't just the guy who'd been by her side all these years. I was the guy left in the dust. The guy replaced. The guy lied to. I looked up, my eyes blurry with tears I hadn't let fall, my body shaking from what I just found out. It wasn't just the affair that cut deep. It was realizing I never really knew her. The woman I thought I loved had been living a life I wasn't part of. The betrayal wasn't just about her and Johnson. It was about everything I thought was true, everything I believed in. Right then, I knew something had to give. The weight of her cheating was too heavy to carry alone, and this dark anger inside me started boiling up, raw and unstoppable. I'd been blindsided, but I wasn't gonna stay the sucker for long. The days after Sarah's betrayal dragged on, heavy like a thick fog I couldn't shake. What she'd done, what I'd found out pressed down on me in ways I couldn't put into words. It wasn't just the affair eating at me, but all the years I'd been clueless, trusting her, loving her. It was all a lie, a fake picture I'd built in my head. And now, it was falling apart. The air around me felt sharp, like a constant buzz of tension in every corner of the house. The quiet, once comforting, now felt suffocating. The gap between me and Sarah wasn't just space, it was a deep, permanent divide. I learned what betrayal felt like, the kind of break that couldn't be fixed. I started looking at everything with a cold distance. The world kept moving, but I was stuck in a haze, every step heavier than the last. I watched Sarah, but she wasn't the woman I married anymore. She was a stranger, carrying guilt, maybe even fear. I saw it in how she dodged my eyes, how she couldn't stay still, like she was waiting for something to happen. That's when the thought took hold. A dark idea, starting small but growing bigger every day. Johnson, the guy who took my wife, became a constant shadow in my mind. His face was everywhere. His smile, his hands, his existence had wrecked everything I'd built. And with that came another thought: he had to pay. It was a gut-deep urge, something primal. I couldn't just walk away, couldn't let it slide. What he'd done to me, to us, was unforgivable. My head was full of him, his smug grin, his cocky attitude. I could almost hear him mocking me, laughing at how weak I'd been. Days blurred together, and I kept watching. I followed him when he left his place in the morning, went to work, came home at night. I studied every move he made, like he was some kind of puzzle I had to crack. I needed to know him, every weak spot, every mistake. I needed the perfect moment. Weeks passed, and I realized nothing I did, nothing I felt, could change what happened. Sarah was gone. She'd made her choice. And now, I had only one choice left. One evening, I tracked him again, but this time, I wasn't just watching. I was ready. My body felt tight, like a spring about to snap. I waited until he was walking home alone, down the same path he always took. He didn't notice me, too caught up in his own head to see the shadow trailing him. He moved easy, like a guy without a care, clueless about the storm coming his way. It happened fast. I stepped out of the dark, the weight of my choice heavy on me. The air felt sick. Final. I moved with purpose, driven by a rage so raw it blocked out everything else. He turned just as I got close, his eyes wide with confusion. But it was too late. The anger I'd been holding and exploded. In the cold blade of a knife found its mark. I felt his flesh give way, the warmth of his blood on my hands. His gasp rang in my ears, but it didn't matter. Nothing did. I stood over him as he collapsed, his life slipping away fast. The world felt far off, like I was outside of time. His eyes, full of shock, stared up at me, but I didn't feel the satisfaction I thought I would. No release, no peace. Just the empty weight of something I could never take back. I walked away from what I'd done, leaving him there, and the world around me felt like it was caving in. It was final, but it didn't bring any peace. There was nothing to fill the emptiness eating at me. I'd taken his life, yeah, but the truth was still there. Sarah's betrayal wasn't going anywhere. Then it hit me. Sarah would find out. She'd know what I did, and she'd see the path I'd gone down to get here. She'd be the next to face the fallout. Outside, the world kept moving like nothing had happened. The city hummed along, not caring about the mess I'd made. But inside, everything had changed. Our house, once a cozy spot, now felt like a cage. I couldn't shake the truth, the hollow ache in my chest. It wasn't just a man's death haunting me, it was the death of everything I thought was real. My marriage, my sense of who I was, my place in the world, it was all broken, no fixing it. Sarah was gone. She vanished after the chaos I caused, taking any hope of peace with her. The house, now dead quiet, mirrored the emptiness inside me. I wandered through it, touching the walls, running my hands over the furniture, like I could hold on to the past. But it was slipping away. Every memory, every moment with her, every belief about what we were. Killing Johnson didn't fill the hole in my gut. If anything, it made it worse, deeper. He was gone, but the pain of Sarah's betrayal kept gnawing at me. I thought his death would balance things out, bring some kind of justice, but all it did was lock in my own fate. What I'd done drove a wedge between me and the woman I loved for so long. Sarah, with all her anger and distance, had slipped out into the night, leaving me to deal with the wreckage we both made. I watched her go, saw the same coldness in her eyes I'd noticed when I first learned she betrayed me. It wasn't guilt or regret pushing her away, it was something else. She'd become a stranger, and now, I was a stranger to myself. I hoped, in the quiet that followed, for some kind of light bulb moment, something to pull me back from the edge. But nothing came. I sat in the dark, staring at the empty spaces we used to fill with our life together. The house felt like it was closing in, shadows growing darker, walls creeping closer. It was trapping me in the reality I'd made. I used to love Sarah with everything I had. I believed in us, in the life we built. But now, those feelings were like faint echoes, too far to reach through the fog of anger and loss. Everything we were felt like a lie, a fragile front that fell apart when I saw the truth. I killed a man to settle that lie, but it cost me everything else. Days turned into weeks, and I wasn't in that house anymore, the one that held the echoes of my life with Sarah. Now I was stuck in the cold, cramped walls of a prison cell. When they took me away, the weight of what I'd done hit me like a ton of bricks. The arrest was quick. Neighbors must have heard the noise, the struggle, the thud when Johnson hit the ground. By the time I stepped out into the night, his blood on my hands, my heart a mix of rage and regret. Red and blue lights were already flashing down the street. The cops came up slow, voices stern, but I didn't fight back. How could I? The truth was all over me, in every step, every breath. I gave up without a word, letting the handcuffs dig into my wrists. As they read me my rights, I barely heard them. My mind was stuck back there, replaying it all, his shocked face, Sarah's scream, the raw anger that pushed me to do it. The trial came fast. No need for a long investigation. The evidence was clear as day. Witnesses saw me leave, and Sarah's testimony sealed it. She laid it all out, the fights, the tension building, and then what I did. Her voice, flat and emotionless, hit me harder than anything. She'd already cut herself off from me, from us, from the ruins of what we had. When the verdict came down, I wasn't shocked. Guilty. The word rang out in the courtroom and in my head, a judgment I'd already laid on myself. The sentence hit hard. Decades locked up. My freedom gone. Paying for the violence I let loose. Prison was a whole different world. The days dragged on, same old routine, walls feeling tighter every day. The other guys in here either ignored me or gave me curious looks, but I kept to myself. I wasn't here to buddy up or make deals. I was here to face what I'd done. Every night, lying on the thin mattress in my cell, I replayed how I got here. I thought about Sarah, not just her betrayal, but the years before, the life we built, the love that once felt unbreakable. I wonder where she was now, what she was up to, if she ever thought about me. Did she feel any guilt for the lies she told, for the choices that pushed us to this point? Or had she just moved on, leaving me to carry the weight alone? The days all blurred together, each one a copy of the last. I tried telling myself I acted for justice, that Johnson got what was coming. But deep down, I knew better. It wasn't about justice. It was anger, pain, a desperate grab to take back some control in a life that had spun out of my hands. Now, control was long gone. My life belonged to the system, to the guards walking the halls, to the strict schedules and hard walls. But the real punishment wasn't losing my freedom, it was knowing I'd become what I hated. I let my anger take over, and it destroyed everything I cared about. Sarah's absence hit the hardest. She was gone, not just in person, but in every way that counted. Her betrayal started this mess, but it was my hand that ended it. Now, I had nothing but memories of what we had and the bitter truth of what I turned into. In the quiet of my cell, I thought about the life we could have had, the choices I could have made differently. But those thoughts didn't help. The past was locked away, and I was stuck with the consequences. As days turned to months, I started to accept this was my life now. The guy I used to be was gone, and the life I knew was over. All that was left was the cold, hard truth of one moment I couldn't undo, and the fact that, in chasing revenge, I'd wrecked us all.